I'm Christy. Today I want to talk to you about Twitter. So our final stop among the social media apps is Twitter. And once again, I have to be upfront and admit, I don't use Twitter. My husband does, and Sean has an account, but he doesn't use it much. I just haven't seen the need. So again, I'll be relying on my research for input into this post. So Protect Young Eyes describes Twitter this way. Quote, a way to share your life's moments 280 characters at a time. It's one of the top 10 most popular websites globally and has been around since 2006. Registered users can read and post messages or tweets, while unregistered users can only read messages. Twitter can be used through the app or through the website twitter.com, end quote. Now that is from Protect Young Eyes, as I mentioned. You can find a link for that over on the blog. That's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in February of 2021. Now once again, you have to be at least 13 years old to open an account without parental permission. And per the Twitter website itself, in some countries that age requirement is higher. Now I like the way that Twitter handles it. Quote, if you don't meet our age requirements, we'll lock your Twitter account and you'll receive a notice from us letting you know that we need parental consent in order to reactivate it, end quote. Now, I'm not sure how stringently they adhere to this policy, but I like the effort that they make. The link above goes into more detail on the process. And again, you can find that over on the blog. Now, while Twitter can appear to be very innocent and full of news on the surface, the links provided within the tweets can be full of content that may not be appropriate for many eyes, especially those of our loved ones with special needs. Protect Young Eyes points out a number of different areas that are risky, and I'm going to link to that article over on the blog. They list them as too easy to be stupid and mean, porn is everywhere, reputations can be damaged so quickly, unfiltered browsing is everywhere, location sharing, and fleets. Now you can read more about each of these in the link above. And the article goes on to provide a few ways that you can better protect your loved one, but it sums it up by saying that they don't believe it's a very safe platform for kids. Twitter itself requests that you adjust your media settings, especially if you post things that others might find sensitive. I've got a link to an article that tells you specifically how to adjust those settings over on the blog. Now, in a word, I would say Twitter's not very safe. Okay, technically, that's 4 words, but you get my meaning. Bark.us has an article entitled, Is Twitter Safe for Kids? 6 Things Parents Need to Know. Again, there's a link over on the blog. I really like that this article, originally posted in January of 2018, was updated in June of 2020. The article lists specific areas that are risky for kids and teens. Cyberbullying is listed in 2 different concerns. And again, the default setting is public. Check out the article for more specifics. Now, several other articles that I've already linked to also discuss potential risks. So what kind of parental controls does Twitter offer? As I mentioned above, I was happy to discover that Twitter addresses parental controls on their website, at least to a degree, and I've got a link to where they talk about it. They require parental consent for those under 13 years of age and older in some countries. Now that said, here's what some others have to say about their parental controls. InternetMatters.org, and again there's a link, offers this article that provides step-by-step directions with pictures on how to set up restrictions on chatting, privacy and identity theft, inappropriate content, and social networking. They also provide these directions as a PDF download with no email required. A third option is to have the directions emailed directly to you. PhoneSpectre.com suggests 8 parental controls to use. Now, while not specific step-by-step directions, I think most parents can figure out how to modify these suggestions with the instructions provided. And again, there's a link to that article on the blog. Now, a final option, while not a specific parental control, is to create a Twitter list. This article from McAfee.com explains more, and again, there's a link on the blog. While the article is a bit older, I checked, and Twitter lists are still in use. I've got a link to Twitter's website itself that explains them in this article, and it tells you how to set them up, find lists, etc. And Sprout Social offers an article on how to use and set up lists on Twitter. Again, there's a link over on the blog. So where does this leave all of us? Once again, I'll end with a few random thoughts. As I've mentioned in most of these posts for the apps, if your loved one isn't interested in this particular app, I'd stay away. Twitter especially seems to have a higher risk for inappropriate content, and it's just not worth the risk to me. Because the basis of Twitter is short statements without a lot of explanation, I'm not sure how many of our loved ones with special needs would really understand tweets. To me, if they don't understand what's going on, it's not worth putting them on this platform. But that's my opinion. Now, if you do decide to put your loved one on Twitter, I definitely follow through with the suggestions in these articles to best protect your loved one from as much inappropriate content as possible. Now, that said, you also need to realize that you probably won't be able to prevent 100% of the inappropriate content that you want to. So my question for you this week is this. Does your loved one use Twitter? If so, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. One last time, that's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This is originally from February of 2021. I have to admit, I'm grateful that AJ hasn't yet discovered Twitter, which helps me continue to say that life is good and there is never a dull moment.